Hello and welcome to the First Issue Club podcast. We're your weekly comic book reading club. We're just like Sue Storm. We love a good read. We're coming to you live from Kansas City, where the thunder rolls and the lightning strikes. That's right. Garth Brooks' second home. His home away from home.
Kansas City?
Oh, yeah. We love Garth here. Oh. Every Royals game you go to, we're singing Friends in Low Places.
Sure.
He sold out something like, 15 shows in a row at the Sprint Center. You don't remember this? What kind of Midwesterner am I dealing with over here?
We've got the Cardinals on the other side of the state, okay?
Ugh.
Bigger and better things.
Ugh.
Our beer comes in blue cans.
East Coast vibes. Yuck.
Unlike.
My beer strictly comes from Kansas City. Brewed in the finest fashion, Space Camper, Cosmic IPA, the Boulevard Brewing Company, family of beers. I'm wearing the dang t-shirt.
Been there.
Done that. I'm a lifer.
Got the t-shirt.
I love it so much. This is my favorite IPA. They make tons of different types of IPA, so you can find the one that's right for you. This is the nerdy beer. It's got a whole theme with characters all based around saving the planet, which is, by coincidence, the only planet with beer that I'm aware of anyway. So let's do our part to save the Earth by recycling our Space Camper cans. And in order to recycle Space Camper cans, you got to buy them in the first place and drink the dang stuff. Yum yum. Give you some when you go out to your local liquor store and buy some Space Camper Quantum Hop IPA, which is what I'm drinking, a 9.5% beverage in a tall boy can. Does it get better than that? No. Life is grand. I am Mike D.
And I am Vargas.
And we are sans Greg Lichtheig tonight, who is heading on down to OKC, where it's traditionally 10 degrees warmer than it is in Kansas City.
Yuck.
Funny how a 5-hour drive can make such a difference. But there you are, OKC, home of the Thunder, scourge of Seattle, the city that took your team away.
Greg, we wish you safe travels.
Yeah, we do. You're on the open road. Hope the friendly folk in OKC are kind to you. But we've got other business to attend to. We can't go worrying about some bro that isn't here who would be doing all the dad jokes and yuck puns, slowing us down talking about art like we did on our Patreon today ad nauseum. If you want to join us on the Patreon for an additional episode a week for the price of one comic book a month, we talked at length about my passion for Hayao Miyazaki, having finally seen The Boy and the Heron, which just came to some new streaming platforms that I happen to be a patron of. Watched that, felt very inspired this week and very creative this week because of it. And we got off on a tangent on what inspires us about film and kind of went on a deep dive there. And then we also talked about on who we would save or elect into the MCU that came from previous X-Men films. What actors do we want to put on the life raft?
Two equally intriguing conversations.
I know. It's funny. We started with the lightest comic book fodder that you can think of in the X-Men conversation, and then we went on an existential bender.
Hey man, movies are cool.
Movies are great. Hey, I guess the whole episode was movie themed at least, so we stayed on a somewhat of a theme there. But today, on our regular episode, we're going to have regular conversations. And what that means is talking about comic books. That's what you come here for. No deviations.
None. We
right?
never deviate.
The Patreon is for deviations. This is for brass tacks. And I've got some comic book news. I don't know if you do too. No? Okay. We put you on double duty last week, so
I know I exhausted all my news.
You deserved a nice week off for comic book news, so I went ahead and prepared some topics. First and foremost,
let's hear it.
Something I'm really excited about as the podcast's resident X-head, Magik, is getting her first solo comic ever.
Wow.
Starting in January of 2025. And of course, we got a J. Scott Campbell cover. That perv.
Of course.
That old perv.
It's going to look like his wife.
Of course. He draws one face, puts it on different bodies. We love him for it.
And I buy all of the covers.
Mm-hmm.
Who's writing?
Ashley Allen is writing this and has recently written the Blood Hunt Magik comic that people really dug.
Yeah.
So returning to the character.
Excellent.
After a nice one-shot there. So such a cool, dynamic character. It's one of those things where you realize, like, wow, it's been so long, and this is such an iconic character. It's wild to think that this character has never had a solo title before. In an era wherein so many characters get, like, a 4-issue mini or something, but it's still considered, like, volume 1 self-titled series. Like, Magik has never gotten one before. That is kind of nutso. A character that's been around, well, in her alter ego anyway, has been around since Giant Size X-Men numero uno.
Yeah, that is wild to think about.
Yep.
In a world where Darth Maul has numerous volumes of books.
Yeah. Magik ain't got a single one.
Jar Jar Binks has more solo comic experience than her.
So I'm excited about it. This is a character that I'm very passionate about. I think, like, the whole, like, limbo, demonic version of her, what they call something Dark Child or something like that, something child. Really cool character, very dynamic, has a tude and deserves to have a tude, but has kind of become a kind of a sideshow, I think, because of the over-the-top, super sexualized outfits over time, which I hate, because being such a New Mutant stan that I am, I always see Magik as, like, a teenager.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know when they graduated her out of being, like, a teenager, but
day 2.
I don't resonate at all with, like, the modern character designs of that character. And in some of the more recent New Mutants runs, they've done much more modern, modest outfits for her, and we've focused more on her as a person than a character with a body. So
yeah,
hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get more of the same when Magik gets her due and has a solo series. Well, I don't think we know yet, like, whether this is intended to be, like, a 4-issue thing, a 12-issue thing, or an ongoing series, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I recently found out that the Epitaphs from the Abyss was going to be a 6 series, and it's going to a 12-issue. And I love that we, as a comic book audience, have that kind of power.
Yeah,
to
right.
influence publishers, like we did with Ram V's Swamp Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Went from 6 issues to 12 to 16 or whatever it was. Josh Williamson's Green Arrow went from originally a 6-issue to a 12-issue. So if you're a Magik stan, like Mike D is, go buy every cover of issue 1. And maybe it'll go from a 4-issue to an 8 to an ongoing.
A little bit of somber news here.
Uh-oh.
We can't have this episode without talking about the passing of John Cassaday.
Dude, yeah.
Famous illustrator from comics. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but only 52, I think.
Yeah,
hopefully I got that
young.
right. Sorry if I'm off a year or two on the age, but he was in his early 50s, which makes him very much an our generation artist that, like, super instrumental comics for us growing up. He was illustrating. So sad to see you go, losing another person. Reminder that when you go to your cons, the Hero Initiative is a group that supports a lot of creators in their health, people who gave us so much that the industry maybe didn't give back that much to them. And Hero Initiative is something that has helped a lot of creators with healthcare costs and other costs and life expenses for emergencies and things like that. And anytime someone passes, I like to remind people to, when you see those little bins at a con or someone's taking donations for an autograph, slip a few bucks in there if you're getting an autograph from somebody who's taking donations, because they help people like this go to the hospital more, check with their doctors more often, do all those things that sometimes you can't do as an artist, someone who's living to create.
Yeah. This one was tough. As a Captain America fan specifically, it was really, really tough to see that he passed so young. I mean, the definitive Captain America image for me is that Captain America #1 from his run in whatever, that kind of relaunched the character. That was kind of the beginning of us as comic book people saying, oh, Captain America's like kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
Was that John Cassidy run?
Yep.
So, yeah, big tragedy there. Condolences to him and his family and the community at large.
Yeah. R.I.P. Moving on to some maybe happier news, something to be excited about. The Penguin, the show on HBO Max, is starting to get around the review circles.
Okay.
And we're starting to hear little bits trickle out about how this is. This is, of course, the Penguin from The Batman.
The Batman.
If you're not confused already with what's going on with DC and their cinematic universe, there is the Robert Pattinson Batman that will exist and continue to have sequels that is maybe outside of the canon of some of the other DC stuff that's going to be happening. But hey, don't worry about it. Just enjoy that movie and its side stories for what they are, I guess.
Yeah.
Apparently, The Penguin, a lot of people were given a 5-episode preview of the HBO Max series, and people are loving it.
I thought it was only getting 6 episodes, so...
No, maybe is that all it is?
I don't know. I guess not.
So maybe everyone was just given screeners of the first 5 episodes so nobody spoils
the
ending.
Yeah.
But people are saying it's great. It's much more of like an up the middle, like I say up the middle in a good way, like mafia kind of story of a crime family, and Oswald Cobblepot's part of that. It got compared to Sopranos quite a bit, and that kind of like prestige television, fun drama sort of stuff that doesn't feel like superhero exhausted. Like, a lot of critics are liking it because they're like, oh, this is a fresh thing that lives in the DC universe, but isn't necessarily like bogged down with superhero factoids.
If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. People just need to make genre movies and fold a superhero in.
Yeah,
and
sure.
you will rake in the money.
Yeah.
What was Ant-Man but a heist movie with a superhero in it, right? Like, Captain America, Winter Soldier was a spy movie with superheroes folded in.
Yeah. And I think I liked what was the movie called?
Quantumania.
Was it called Quantumania?
It's called Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania.
I kind of like the name.
Yeah.
It's like the Quadrophenia or something, but sure. Quantumania. I think I like that movie better than most people, but it's probably because I'm so close to comics.
Yeah.
That I can just be like, oh yeah, this is a thing I'm aware of. Is this like micro universe?
Oh, MODOK is funny.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But you understand how the population at large was like, well, we saw a couple of these movies already, and they were like the fun take a break Marvel movies where we got like Mission Impossible, but with like a more charming actor.
Yeah, Mission Impossible minus the Scientology.
Yeah, right. And that's what people wanted from the third Ant-Man movie,
Yeah.
and you did not get that. So I tend to agree with you. That's why the Captain America Civil War is so many people's favorite Marvel movie, that it was inspired by a lot of like political thrillers and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see basically like Sopranos with Oswald Cobblepot.
I think it's
and have that fill out the universe.
I mean, that sounds brilliant.
Which I think was kind of like the intention of that the Gotham show was to give you like a bit of a drama and the buildup of like, this is how Gotham became nutso.
Right.
Something, but that was something that was like a little more stoked in reality. That was like, we haven't gotten there yet.
Right.
And I think that's what this is going to be too.
Yeah, because it's Colin Farrell's Penguin basically vying for power against Falcone's daughter, right? That's the elevator pitch?
Yeah.
That sounds brilliant.
Yeah. If you asked me who was going to get a spin-off movie from this, I don't know that I would have said the Penguin, but hey, he's a great actor.
I mean, it's Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
He's killing it.
And apparently it's good.
I'll watch it. I'll let you know how it is.
I'll watch it too.
Hell yeah.
Side podcast?
Oh, Penguin Boys. Showing up.
You're gonna be busy pretty soon. I don't know if we can, for those following along, Vargas, baby boy, imminently due.
Nah, my son will watch with us.
All right. Maybe we can record digitally.
Yeah.
Some quick recap episodes, maybe for the Patreon, or
Totally.
maybe like bonus episodes in the main feed.
I'll bring Ronan along.
All right. Awesome.
What are your thoughts, little man? And he'll be like,
oh, he'll sound just like the Penguin.
Wah. Good point.
Yeah. Okay, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is a new Disney Plus animated show.
I have heard about this.
And it's getting a prequel comic book
Uh-huh.
that I think comes out in like December or something.
Uh-huh.
So you're going to get, this is something that, you know, Spider-Man fans have kind of been crazy over because there's so many different iterations of Peter Parker.
Sure.
And sometimes we care about the first appearances of those different iterations of
Don't we
Peter
always?
Parker.
Don't we always?
So there's a comic book coming out that serves as a prequel to this. If the show is popular, then that comic book may be something that people want. I would assume this one's going to get like pre-ordered like crazy. So probably not something to like go nutso for or like slab. You know what I mean?
Hard disagree. I'm slabbing every copy.
Okay, get all the variants, get the 1:100 ratio, slab it right away. Hey, to each their own. I won't yuck your yum on what you want to slab, but
I'm doing it just to give you the FOMO, Mike.
kind of. But yeah, I do think it's kind of fun. And this character looks like, from the character design anyway, that we're getting from Leo Romero, one of my favorite comic book
Nice.
artists.
Yeah.
And he's doing at least the cover for these, maybe the interiors too.
Cool.
Maybe he's involved in the animated show a little bit. He was very much like, we got to do this like fun thing for our project. And so it sounded like he might be involved in the show somehow. I don't know. Who knows?
Maybe a storyboard artist or something.
Yeah. In any case, bonus adjunct content for a version of Peter Parker that seems to be very like modern grassroots kid from the Bronx, doesn't have the resources to have like a superhero level costume.
Yeah.
And is more like hacked together, you know, hockey pads and jeans
Yeah.
and a tight t-shirt to like, and you know, a knit cap to like protect his identity while he's like figuring out who he is. So
Sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, I think that sounds like fun. I'm sure this will be like for kids. I'll probably watch a couple episodes of it just because I'm a Spider-Man freak and I want to like know what's going on
Totally.
or have some like cultural touchstone of what exactly that show is. So I don't know. I'm kind of excited for it. We'll see.
Will you cover that issue on the club?
Yes, it will be a first issue and it will be read and reviewed
Excellent.
on First Issue Club. That's a Mike D guarantee. Made sure that rhymes. A bunch of Marvel versus Capcom covers are coming. Have you seen any of these?
Oh, to go with the re-release of the game.
That's exactly right.
Excellent.
There's Bengus, I guess, is the name of the like concept artist
Okay.
that worked with Capcom, and a lot of those sketches are ending up on these individual covers. If you
Sick.
can imagine, like, a lot of times with the box art, they have like a big gallery view of like all the characters you can play.
Yeah.
And this might be like the individual character drawings that are like pulled apart and isolated and slapped onto
Cool.
covers as a fun marketing gimmick for the game coming out. These covers, the like trend covers or like theme covers throughout the publisher that are just like on every cover of every comic for like a month, used to be something that I was very much like, I don't want this. I want the A cover. These B covers are always throwaway and worthless. The one time I buy the B cover will be the one time that something important happens.
Yeah.
And and I'll be like, damn it, this version of it is worth $1 and the other version of it is worth $30. And while, again, we're comic readers, we're not buying comics necessarily for value, to be
Right.
clear. But hey, it's a great side effect of spending a shit ton of money on comic books to have something come out the other side of it monetarily, right?
Yeah.
So you might as well have the copy that's worth a little more. Part of me is kind of turning around on some of this in some respect when it comes to a moment, when these things are tied to a moment in culture. Like the release of a
Okay.
thing or a movie coming out.
Yeah.
I kind of like going back through my collection and being like, oh yeah, that's when this was happening.
Sure.
We
Louis
got
the dog.
We got a mad dog on the prowl.
It's so interesting to hear you say that, Mike, because I had a similar thought the other day wherein I like these nonsense covers
Yeah.
because when you're flipping through the dollar bin, you can be like, what a weird cover.
Yeah.
And pull it out and be like, holy shit, this is the first appearance of something.
Yeah.
Silk,
Yeah.
right? But it's not the A cover that everybody wants. It's the weird nonsense cover.
There's an
So,
iconic cover that's associated with these characters forevermore.
Yeah.
And then there are other covers that like absolutely no one cares about or recognizes.
Yeah. But you can own
But you can own it.
a first print
Yeah.
variant of that cover for nothing.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that's a fun thing.
Yeah. It's a weird hobby.
Yeah, it's a terrible hobby. Never read comics.
So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm turning around on it. I think the movie ones are especially fun,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, the new Captain Marvel came out. Here's some like shots of the actors on comic book covers. The new Deadpool movie came out. Here's like an actual still from the movie on the cover. Like those are fun to flip back through my boxes and be like, I remember this moment in time.
I liked it a little better when they did like, oh, the Thor movie's coming out, so every cover has a Thor variant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily like, oh, here's Chris Hemsworth
As Thor.
Running in the movie Thor. It's just like
Spider-Man has
Thor
Mjolnir.
high-fiving, Spider-Man because
Yeah.
he's got Mjolnir, or Captain America lifting Mjolnir and Thor's like, what are you doing? You know?
I think we have opposite takes on this then. I like the thing that's like straightforward referencing
Yeah.
the cultural deal.
I like when they're like kind of whimsical and nonsense.
Yeah. Someone on a Reddit post the other day posted one of the Godzilla covers, and they were like, I love that in 80 years, someone is going to be flipping through short boxes and be like, why was Godzilla
Yeah.
in this like Jessica Drew comic?
Yeah, exactly. Why is Godzilla breath blasting Khonshu on
Yeah.
this Moon Knight cover?
Right.
Yeah.
Was that a thing? It's pretty funny. Okay. September 21st.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember
The 21st night of September.
21st night of September? It's actually Batman Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
My son will be here.
Sun will be around for Batman Day. Big important day for Vargas. A lot of stuff going on around the country in your comic book shops. They're having a little event. I was looking for like Batman Day exclusives or like merchandise and fun stuff, and there was a lot of like digital exclusive things, which I'm not so stoked on. Obviously, as a item hoarder,
Yeah.
I need the thing, not like a skin of Batman in Fortnite or something.
Yeah, you're a physical boy.
Yeah. But I did see that there's going to be Batmobile themed Crocs and Batman family gibbets.
Hell no.
You might be seeing me on First Issue Club
I fully support it, Mike
in
D.
a pair of Bat Crocs.
I support it.
We'll see. We'll see. I was a little disappointed reading through like all the Batman Day stuff because I don't know. A lot of times they do like those funny masks and things that you could like, you show up at your comic shop that Wednesday and they hand you a Batman mask and everybody's walking around the shop like wearing like old Adam West paper Batman masks. And it's just, I don't know, you get a kick out of it. But I don't know if there's much to be super stoked on this year. There's a compilation of a lot of the animated stuff.
I thought the reprints they're doing were pretty solid this year, if memory serves.
Long Halloween #1.
Long Halloween #1, and aren't they doing...
Which some of these stuff, I guess, maybe different perspective for me because I'm such a comic book fan. It's like, yeah, I've read Long Halloween a bunch of times already.
You don't need another copy.
I don't need another copy
#1
of
for
it, yeah.
free. But they're doing, if memory serves again, a preview of the Long Halloween sequel series.
Oh yeah,
that's the last Paul Pope published, or
not Paul Pope.
Jeff Loeb?
Jeff Loeb.
No, Tim Sale. Tim Sale.
Jeff
Loeb is still alive. Tim Sale. His last published thing was this Long Halloween like capstone book.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing a 0 issue for Batman Day.
Okay, cool.
If memory serves. I'm probably wrong.
Tim Sale, amazing artist. I always recommend the what are the Batman books? Batman Noir?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Where they publish the
black and white
of classic Batman stories. I highly recommend Long Halloween in the Batman Noir run because it's just gorgeous with Tim Sale's original inks.
Yep. And do yourself a favor and track down Catwoman When in Rome.
Oh yeah, is that the like?
That's part of Long Halloween.
Yeah,
and I didn't know that until
I've never read that one. It's not included in the
No.
collected editions that I have of Long Halloween.
But it's
its own like separate trade.
It's incredibly good.
Yeah. Okay. Last bit here for our news this week. Venom 3 trailer.
Null is coming, baby.
Null is coming. His name is Null.
Shh. That's the bit.
Yep.
From the trailer.
Don't say it.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Is it?
Yeah, why not?
That's what I'm wondering. That's the conversation we're having today. Is it exciting that Null is coming?
Sure.
This movie is called Venom: The Last Dance. As if these Venom movies were something that we are attached to and need a fond farewell for.
The first movie made $1 billion, Mike.
Did it make $1 billion?
$1 billion.
I thought it was atrocious.
It was fine out of 100.
Oh, I thought it was so bad.
We talked about this in the Patreon. You need to watch worse movies.
Okay, maybe. I have an odd relationship with these movies.
Woody Harrelson is Carnage. Come on.
I think there's something about like, well, one, the original Amazing Spider-Man 3, where you get Venom in that, and being like, how many shots at Venom am I going to get in my lifetime? At the time, it seemed like one and done, right?
Yeah, right.
It's like they'll never make another Venom movie because superhero movies were kind of rare at the time.
You got 400 frames of Venom, and that was it.
Yeah, and I was like, this is what we used it for? So I'm a little sensitive to that. And then the next iteration of it in this trilogy, I was just a little touchy with because I feel like it didn't really do the Venom thing that I wanted it to do. And it's so detached from Spider-Man, which I didn't necessarily love either. To me, Noel seems like a big existential, cosmic, spacey think piece thing because of the way like Silver Surfer Black was done and how it led into Noel, and then Noel rolled its way into Venom and yada 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 on down the line.
Okay.
And
your feelings are validated.
And the way we're introducing Noel is a lot like the way Venom was introduced in Spider-Man 3, which was partway through a third movie and is going to have to be like introduced, explained, and defeated over the course of
an hour and a half.
And I just don't know that I'm going to feel satisfied with how many chances we're going to get with Noel on screen and how satisfied I'm going to feel with that at the end of the day. But I don't know.
Riddle me this, Batman.
Mm-hmm.
What if, though, they connect Noel with All Black the Necrosword from Thor Love and Thunder? And give him an ability
to hop over
to the MCU.
Yeah, that's interesting. Got more staying power.
That
I will
give you a little tingle.
I will say, in the last Spider-Man movie, there was a sequence wherein we saw Sony's Venom.
Yep.
And a little bit of symbiote goo left behind. So let's say, here's a way I could be satisfied with this. The Venom movie introduces Noel.
Uh-huh.
Noel kills this universe's Venom and Eddie Brock.
Sure. Why wouldn't it?
Takes control of this world completely, just like takes over Earth, right?
Sure.
Would be like an ending that no one expected.
Uh-huh.
And then this conquest is not satisfactory. I've got to dominate other universes.
Right into Secret Wars.
And Noel becomes a big part of Secret Wars. That's something that I would be like, okay, this movie simply introduced a character that played a larger role. Like, if that's not how this happens, which is like, I extremely highly doubt that Noel makes it out of this movie alive.
Sure.
But if not, this is the sort of thing that I'm like, plant the seed for Noel in the first movie.
Sure.
Have Noel be like a minor threat in the second movie, and then realize the real player he is by the third movie, and we spend the entire third movie with it.
Sure.
Rather than, again, introducing the thing, explaining what it is. By the time we've explained what it is, that character's been defeated by the end of the movie. Waste a Noel.
It's a Sony movie. You really want them to think about it?
They don't think about it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I liked Madam Web, so don't listen to me.
We're going to go see Craven, right?
We have to see Craven.
Oh, dude. We're going to see Craven.
Yeah.
Speaking of things you and I have to do, I want to get this commitment from you on the air.
Oh, no.
We have to review the Alien Romulus prequel, right?
Oh, I didn't know that this was happening.
Uh-huh.
All right, our metal-teethed aliens.
Zach Thompson is writing.
Hey, that's exciting.
Yeah, and it was made in conjunction with Fede Alvarez, the writer and director of Alien Romulus. This is a prequel comic.
I love it. I'm a Romulus apologist.
I loved Romulus.
I thought it was so stinking good.
Yeah.
And I was so surprised to see the mixed reviews on it because we saw it like damn near opening day.
Oh, yeah.
If not opening day.
It was opening day.
And
you think I'm waiting? Come on.
And I was just pleased as could be.
Yeah.
With it, and then to walk back out of it and hear what people were saying about it, I don't know. I think some of the criticism wasn't fair. I think there's some things that, like, when a movie is part of a franchise and it's supposed to do, to me, it's like supposed to fulfill certain things, and then on top of that, it needs to do like a couple new adjunct surprise things.
Yeah.
That we haven't seen from the series before. It's like it's honoring the thing. It feels of a family. And then in addition to that, it's surprising us with some delights that we hadn't occurred to us in this universe before. And in that respect, Alien Romulus was super successful.
Oh, yeah.
But for people who were like, I wanted this to be another Prometheus that was like, maybe a little more abstract and told like a weirder, larger story that changed the mythology of what the aliens were and the purpose they serve in the universe and their origin. Like, you didn't get that with this movie, but like not every single movie can readdress that, or just like, or none of the movies mean anything if everything takes a shot at the origin.
I think what people wanted was Sigourney Weaver to show up and be like, actually Hicks and Newt lived, and actually everything is actually good.
Yeah.
And here's why your theory was right.
Yeah.
And then the xenomorph shows up and she hits it with a flamethrower. The end. And it wasn't that.
I leaned over to you at some point during the movie, which hopefully we can avoid spoilers in this conversation. But I leaned over to you at some point in the movie and I was like, is that character going to become Newt?
Yeah.
And I was convinced that was the rub of this.
Yeah.
And didn't end up being the case, but I don't know. Movies like that have like a lot of like little pieces that you can speculate on and then have your expectations be subverted. It's like, that's a fun movie to watch.
The fact that it was homage, sequel, prequel, world building, and beginning of a new like branch in this franchise.
Yeah, right. It's a whole holistically new branch.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I thought it was amazing, and everyone should go see it.
Yeah, agree.
Do you have any other news, Mike D?
No, that's all the news I've got.
Okay. Do you want to talk about comic books?
I would love to. I think it's more than the right time to transition.
Excellent. You read A Big Beefy Boy.
Yes.
I would love to hear about it.
Okay, so I read Distillery's Time Waits, which was written by Chip Zdarsky.
Uh-huh.
Chip Zdarsky has
That's Tom's brother, right? Tom Waits. It's a good joke.
I read the entire book in this voice. Muriel, I'm pregnant. Okay. Chip Zdarsky. Ever heard of him? Famous for Batman,
Batman?
Daredevil. has a 4-series deal with the publisher Distillery.
4 series?
He's signed a contract to do 4 different series. So apparently artwork is being done already on the 2nd series. The 3rd series is like being written. And the 4th series has a concept. So
Dang,
they're all they're all in different stages of production. This was something interesting to me. I know that the Distillery guys are the Comixology guys, and they've had Chip Zdarsky do a couple Comixology originals, like that Afterlift, I think was the name of it, was a graphic novel he wrote that was like kind of an Uber service for the dead. That was really entertaining in classic Chip Zdarsky fashion.
Yeah.
And so I think he already has a good relationship with Distillery creators. But this kind of confused me a bit to hear, like, they wrote up a contract with him. He's kind of like a hired... Does that make him kind of like a hired gun for Distillery for the time being? And I always interpreted the list of like founding creators as like part owners of Distillery. And maybe they're not. Maybe it's just the Comixology guys that own this thing, and the founding creators are more people who just have had the initial contracts to do all the comics through 2025.
Interesting. Yeah, that you...
I need to look at that again and totally, like, more holistically understand what exactly it is about the creators and the ownership they have over not just their work, but the publisher itself.
Well, we're getting to the point where, like, Scott Snyder and Jock should be, like, rolling out book number 2. You know, if they were... whatever, if they're sticking with the pub, right? Same with, Becky Cloonan, right? Just finished up Somna. That was a big hit for them. You'd think they'd be, like... pretty much rolling her into her next thing.
And Scott Snyder's kind of said he's ready to return to superheroes.
To big 2 stuff, yeah. Interesting. I hadn't put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see.
And maybe there were just like bonuses to being like the first initial creators. Because, I mean, they obviously did an amazing job of finding like heavy hitters to do awesome, interesting new stories in a premium format. So this book was 50 pages long. All of the Distillery books, big magazine size, beefy books. In a Patreon from a couple weeks ago, we kind of go into their like whole deal with digital and how they're trying to break the format of comic books. Kind of interesting, but go find that episode if you're interested more about like the nuances between publishers. However, let's talk more about this individual book itself. Again, titled Time Waits, written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Marcus Toe. In this comic, a soldier abandons his unit and travels back in time.
Oh, so this is like a modern guy?
This is
that
a
goes back in time?
Future guy.
Okay.
Who travels back in time to our present day.
He picked a bad time to come back to.
And kind of, that's true. And kind of finds asylum in a small town and starts relationships with people and starts kind of like living his own life.
Okay.
And throughout the comic, this is one of the coolest things about this comic. Throughout the comic, before you realize that time travel is even a part of this, he's trying to live his life, and it seems just like a relationship comic, and that he has a military background and kind of has like PTSD and flashbacks and is still battling with the trauma.
Sure.
It turns out the manifestations of trauma that we're seeing from him throughout the comic book is an affliction called time sickness. That when you are out of your own time, you kind of become nauseous and have flashes to the time in which you deviated from.
Sure.
And that's leaving him like passed out on the floor, like flashing back. And he takes some like medication to try to like normalize himself.
Because he exists in a world where he never exists.
Yeah, exactly right.
Right.
He's a man out of time, and like existence is kind of like embattling or pushing up against him as an existential being. Ultimately, the kind of military corporate machine that he was a part of tracks him down and realizes that he's in this part of time.
Don't they always?
And this is a thing wherein we realize that they think he's got something from a mission that is, I don't know, maybe the MacGuffin of this book that may or may not exist. It may play some really important role, and he's keeping it from them, and that's the larger thing at play here. Or maybe he doesn't have that thing, and he's just trying to like have a family and have some normalcy in a time that's much less complicated than the time he's from.
And he picked 2024 as a less complicated time. Is this man,
I mean,
okay?
Yeah, in comparison to the time he's from,
sure,
must seem like a paradise. So in that, a lot of complicated things, I think, going on that made for a really interesting story. Just to kind of recap or maybe introduce a couple new themes that we didn't touch on, he's got a I don't know if it's his wife or if it's just his girlfriend or what, but he's got a significant other that is the like sheriff of the town.
Okay.
And she is that I think is a problem in and of itself because she's got some like responsibility to her town and in reporting certain things or knowing certain things about the goings on of her town. She also wants to adopt a child and start a family, and he's at odds with that, I think, because he knows where the future is going, and two, just like his existence in his life. It's like, how does that work? Well, if we adopt, we're not bringing a new kid who like would be a time anomaly
right
into existence.
You don't want to pull a Terminator.
And so his wife, being like the sheriff of a small town, builds relationships with a lot of the like children who are kind of, abandoned or on the outskirts and takes them in a lot. And we've got some sweet relationships there, and a lot of the book is her side of the story and kind of like a meditation on family and welcoming someone into this like place of comfort and well-being, and how that like gets disrupted by all the complications that this guy brings in just trying to live his life and have a simple existence.
Yeah.
So, some complex themes going on there, in addition to just like the fun sci-fi-ness of like there maybe being this MacGuffin that exists and time travelers and a paramilitary unit that's like also like a corporate overlord sort of thing, which is like very typical of future sci-fi. All that being said, if I read this book without knowing who wrote it, and you said, guess who wrote this?
Yeah.
I would never in a million years guess Chip Zdarsky.
Oh, interesting.
And it's something where like, I love Chip Zdarsky so much, and I've read so much of his work. And as a fan, I kind of feel like I've got obviously he does humor and he does personal stories really well, and he does like in-depth superhero drama that's like very serious very well, and that's the reason why he's got like Batman and Howard the Duck and all these other like public domain
Yeah.
and all these other things, given how varying those books are, I still feel like there is a bit of signature Chip Zdarsky that I can like kind of put my finger on.
Yeah.
And I did not have my finger on it in this comic book.
Interesting.
And I don't know, for better or for worse. One, I think it's just like interesting that he wrote something that like seemed atypical to me.
So outside his wheelhouse.
Yeah, right. That in a way it's like exciting and refreshing. At the same time, it's like, oh, that's just like it's kind of like harder for me to wrap my head around, or just like it subverted my expectations so much that it's like, did I really like it? Did I put too much on the thing?
Yeah, but I mean, that's the kind of story you would want to ship off to a pub like this, though, right?
Yeah, right. That you get to tell this thing in this like weird premium format where you get like I said, 50 pages at a time to tell this like interesting story that exists canonically completely outside of, you know, the other boundaries you're put within when you write for like DC and Marvel, which, you know, he rewrote Stillwell and Public Domain with like independent publishers, but so much of the guy's time lately is allocated to big two things. So I don't know. It's just, it's certainly an interesting title.
Sure.
And obviously the way I talked about it, I liked it, and there's a lot of dynamics there, but,
if you're expecting classic Chip, you might not get it.
If you're expecting classic Chip, that's not what it is. But I don't want to say that's a good or a bad thing, because I love Chip Zdarsky. If it's more Chip, I love it. But if it's less Chip, then still interesting to have come from him. I don't know. It's hard for me to put my finger on it.
It still comes from an incredibly talented creator.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't have the marks of his signature.
Yeah. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to pick it up.
Yeah.
That and Life are both on my list, courtesy of my man Mike D.
I liked Life a lot. Yeah. And Life was, if you didn't listen to, I think, last week's episode, Brian Azzarello and Stephanie Phillips are writing two parts of the same story.
Yeah, like flippy flop versions of the same book.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the subsequent issue of that. Where the stories kind of like met in the middle is a very interesting juncture for Life.
Yeah.
So excited for that.
I read a couple of books. I'll start with the oldest one. So since our buddy Greg isn't here, we needed just maybe one more issue to fill a hole. So I think this actually came out a couple of weeks ago, but I read Venom War Venomous.
Yeah.
And this is obviously a spin-off of Venom War, but it's a sequel series to the one-off, the one-shot that I want to say Stephanie Phillips wrote. Hang on. Sorry, Erica Schultz.
Erica Schultz wrote. We love her from Hallows Eve.
So this is Black Widow and Flash Thompson teaming up to stop Alchemax from creating a MacGuffin potion that can kill symbiotes instantly. And what's super cool about this book, if you haven't been following Black Widow's story for the last year-ish, she's got her own symbiote now called Sliver, and she looks like this. And it's sick as hell.
Yeah, awesome character design.
To have this spider-based spy character finally having spider-based superpowers was like a stroke of genius. It's like such a obvious
it
thing.
Is. I love when stuff like this happens in these stories where like everything has been done before.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh yeah, that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, Black Widow's never been given spider powers.
And the fact that when it happens, I said this the other day about talking about Mary Jane becoming the superhero jackpot.
Yeah.
That seems like something at least like 10 years ago That would have lasted 2 issues tops.
Yeah.
Like, if you were lucky, it would have lasted 2 issues. And then Marvel would have been like, everything has a standard that we have to reset to. And the faster we can reset it to it, the less upset people will be. So, like, constantly be at the status quo. I like that Marvel's getting away from that. And they're saying Mary Jane can be a superhero for 3 years.
Yeah.
And when we give Black Widow a symbiote suit, she can have it for 2 years.
Across titles.
Across several titles, yeah.
So my takeaway from this, it's a fun series. It's a lot of like spy action. I think it's leading to a confrontation between Natasha and her symbiote. I think they will clash with each other. But it makes me want another Black Widow ongoing where she has this power.
Yeah, right.
Like, I just desperately want it.
That's the thing that's been lacking from this is a solo ongoing Black Widow book, which is very rare, actually.
Yeah, I know. She's had a ton of series over the last decade.
Yeah.
The way Erica Schultz writes her is incredible, and the way Luciano Vecchio. Thank you. I knew you would know.
Yeah.
The
Italiano.
Yeah. The artist of this book is incredible. There's a specific panel, of course I can't find it right here, but there's a specific panel where she is out of costume and she has like sent her symbiote to like do the thing, and the way the art is rendered, she is so 60s Black Widow. You know, with the poses, and she's in like a turtleneck.
Yeah.
But it's also very like modern with the writing.
Yeah, right.
And it's such a good, it's like a Tootsie Pop. You know?
It's a good contrast between the...
It's not even a contrast. It's like, oh, this is a candy center to a fucking awesome sucker. Like, it's just so good.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it, if you couldn't tell. It's just kind of a shame that it ties into Venom War, and you have to kind of...
it seems like, you
have to kind of know what's going on with Venom War.
This happens a lot with these, like, titles that a lot of good stories are told or fun things happen that are part of a larger event, but are intimidating because it's like, if I want to follow this, then do I have to bite off a huge section of this Marvel candy bar that's too much for me to chew, or more chocolate than I can afford?
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this, right? If you read Venomous, the one shot, plus this 3-issue series, you would be more or less okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to know what's going on in Venom War, so don't let the Venom War tag scare you off.
Yeah.
You can track down that one shot. Nobody bought it except me. And then read this 3-issue mini.
Yeah.
And hopefully Erica can write, a Black Widow, whatever, 12-parter. I'd take a maxi series.
Yeah.
Where she's got this spider power.
Oh, one of the things I lament often is how good I thought Kelly Thompson's and Elena Casagrande's
so good
Black Widow series was. Oh, some of the fight sequences in that were... I loved all the double page spreads. That showed the Black Widow in all the different positions, making her way across the double page spread, and how she's like flipped all the ways to punch all the guys in the right sequence. So cool looking.
The covers alone from that series were worth the cost of entry.
I'm trying to remember who did the covers. Were there Adam Hughes covers?
He did some, but I want to say like Rachel Rosenberg or somebody.
Okay.
There's that one where it's the neon sign.
Yeah.
And it says Black Widow. Like,
I know which
that
one you're
stuff,
talking about.
Right?
Yeah.
Is just incredible.
Yeah.
So great character, great creative team, fun story, great concept, characters in a cool place. I want a story focusing on that character.
Yep.
And this is as close as you're going to get right now.
Ditto.
So,
Yep.
I also picked up and read Sabrina, the Teenage Witch holiday special. Not a Halloween special.
Okay.
A Christmas special.
This book came out a long time ago.
Did it really?
Yeah.
It was on the new shelf
Okay.
at my LCS.
Incorrect placement at your LCS.
Oh, okay.
I have this comic.
February of 24.
Yeah.
Okay, so this came out a while ago.
This came out a while ago.
All right, well,
Let's talk about it, though.
I guess that's why it's Christmas themed.
Yeah.
I honestly, I picked it up because I needed another number one to talk about, and I loved the Veronica Fish cover.
Yeah. It's a cool cover.
It also features Kelly Thompson and Veronica Fish doing a Sabrina the Teenage Witch story where she has to rescue a friend from a vampire, a demon,
Yep.
a something.
It works well with the TV show. If you're a fan of the TV show, this book feels like it could be of that.
And I was a super fan of the TV
I
show.
thought the TV show was really fun.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's just more of that, right?
Yep.
And the backup story in the back also the same thing. It's Sabrina kind of ruminating about her parents and the life she could have had and all that kind of stuff. This was super fun.
Yeah.
Super great stuff. Archie's putting out a lot of these really high quality one shots. They had a whole bunch of them. You know, the Archie horror stuff has a whole bunch of one shots coming out. They actually advertise, so I'm sure it's already out. They advertise a trade of like Archie horror. The Chilling Adventures trade.
Yeah.
That's a whole bunch of these one shots in one collection. I would say pick it up. I think if you see any of these on the shelf that strike your fancy, you're probably not going to be disappointed.
And they're trying to do a thing over at Archie that I feel like is really hot right now in modern comics, which is a return to EC trend comics.
Yeah.
Wherein you've got
Anthology books.
Yeah, anthology books that are like the individual stories are loosely tied together by like a couple teens sitting around a Ouija board.
Yeah.
And then like 3 horror stories get like told that are like make their way back to them as kind of like the storytellers. How in the old EC comics you'd have like the grave digger, the crypt keeper, and the witch, or you know, whatever their 3 characters were. A lot of the new Archie horror stuff feels like that, but it's doing the stories with like versions of Jughead and Archie and Betty and Veronica and stuff like that. So it's just, I don't know, an extra twinge of fun.
Yeah.
If you're immersed in that universe at all. And if you're not, then you kind of don't know the difference. And they're still fun.
If you're listening to this podcast, you will enjoy it.
Sure.
Like, if you seek out a podcast about comic books,
I'll co-sign that.
you will enjoy
Yeah.
pretty much anything. Sorry, any of these one shots that Archie's putting out. And then the last book I read, which was actually new,
Hey.
Avengers Assemble #1.
Take your time.
So, Avengers Assemble #1. There has been some discourse
Yes.
surrounding this book and Steve Orlando in particular, where I think a lot of members of the club don't vibe with Steve.
Steve is a challenging creator for me.
Yeah. And I think Greg would agree with you.
Yeah.
I have been a Steve Orlando apologist for a while. And I think this is going to be the book that I tell people to read when they say, oh, I don't like Steve Orlando. It is, I mean, it's an Avengers team up book. You're going to get what's on the tin, right? So set yourself up for that. It's not anything subversive. But there are 2 stories being told simultaneously in this book. You get Captain America with basically the team that's on the cover, Shang-Chi, Photon, and Wasp are the first members recruited, first guys that show up to the mansion because Cap has called in the Avengers backup squad. Right after Blood Hunt, the regular Avengers team is off doing their thing, and he's like, okay, we need other folks to fill in the gaps, right? This is that team.
Yep.
So the first 4 folks that show up have to immediately respond to Sin, Red Skull's daughter. She has dug up the mask of the goddess of hate and is wearing it and has made everyone in the surrounding city hate each other. So chaos is all over the place, right? And they're fighting each other and showing off their individual powers and how they can work together as a team. Meanwhile, Jarvis is hosting the other Avengers that are showing up basically one by one. So Hawkeye gets there first and decides he's going to start dealing cards to all the other folks that show up. So you get these dueling stories of the Avengers in this harrowing fight against a Nazi witch, basically. And Hawkeye sitting around a table chilling with his buddies, like, She-Hulk.
I need a breather.
She-Hulk and Lightspeed from Power Pack.
Lightspeed, that's funny.
And it's so charming. You know, Wonder Man shows up and like Lightspeed is like, oh, my dad likes your movies. And he's like, oh, my ego. And then the next page is like this classic Avengers, like, Sin's got Photon by the throat, just like beating the shit out of everybody. And so, I mean, that's the book. It kind of goes back and forth like that. Again, just very, very charming. You get you get the flavor for who these I'll call them the powerhouse characters. They're out in the field. Captain America, Photon, Wasp, Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Kind of everybody knows who they are, but then you get these really intimate moments with the... Are they the B team? They're not the B team because they're still on the team.
Yep.
They're just the guys who show up late.
Yep.
You get to see them sitting around a table interacting.
Yeah. All right, fun.
Sorry, I keep coughing. It's a very fun book, an incredibly fun book. I would recommend it to anybody.
All right.
I don't know what else to say.
Avengers Assemble.
Avengers Assemble, yes.
It's a mini, correct?
Yes, it's not an ongoing. It definitely has an end. I think it's a 5 or 6 issue.
Okay.
So
low commitment.
Cost of entry's low.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Huge roster.
Yeah, did the characters kind of marry at the end? Do we all meet up in one big room? Or do they kind of stay apart?
No, they meet up all in one room.
Okay.
Yeah, Night Thrasher shows up and gives everybody those sick-ass jackets.
Okay.
So everybody's got a uniform.
All right, nice.
It's good stuff.
Okay, cool.
Again, if you're somebody who has been a Steve Orlando poo-pooer, I would say give this a shot. And if this really isn't your cup of tea, then I'll accept your poo-poo.
Okay.
How about that?
Challenge accepted. Give Avengers Assemble a chance.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
All right. I love it. And that, my friends, concludes another week of comic book news, comic book recaps, comic book takes and reviews, suggestions, all the good stuff you want from a comic book podcast. The premier first issue podcast.
The best comic book podcast focused on first issues based in Kansas City.
Well, that one we easily have. Maybe even Midwest.
Oh!
Who are our challengers in the Midwest? I don't even know. I'm bad about being aware of the podcast competition.
Because there is none.
We're all friends.
Join us on...
That's why.
join us on the Patreon. Join us on the Discord.
Yeah.
Check us out on YouTube. We post all these podcasts as videos, so you can behold our beautiful faces as you listen to our horrifying voices. Do we have any other news? I'll probably be out for a while.
Yep.
As I welcome Lisan Al-Gaib, my son, into the world.
Yeah, appreciate this. This could be a Last Andy episode for a minute.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
I'm gonna make the commit. This is, if I can pick one thing to do, that is,
if you get any free time,
this is gonna be my thing.
All right.
I've also made a commitment to myself to read all the back matter that I have collected.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm gonna be posting a lot during my paternity to the Patreon for like trade reviews. I'm gonna try and finish Super Gods and do a written review of that. So
cool.
We'll see what I get through.
I love it. With that, we'll bid you adieu. Have a great week. We'll see you next week, Wednesday Warriors.
Bag and boredom.
Bye-bye.